really kind of expecting to see. So this is going to be definitely much more of what at least Suijay and I are accustomed to when it comes to the drafts.
Yeah, I think Arden will be picked here, or potentially Koshka. Oh, they're going to take the Baptiste right off the bat. And they're going to ban away something that counters Baptiste. So potentially Fortress could be a ban here, because Fortress actually is good into Baptiste. I don't think they, or even Lyra, they may not want to give Vox Lyra, or they want to even take Lyra and play it with Baptiste here. So Koshka, Taka are not viable because of that Baptiste pick, so they're not going to even ban or worry about Koshka here.
Yeah, so I really like the Baptiste pick there because of exactly that. Koshka's so popular in NA, and picking that first kind of denies that pick.
Yeah, and it's almost like getting a second ban, or a third ban, really, because by picking up the Baptiste, you're essentially banning Koshka, because you know your opponents are not going to go for it. So it's a really smart pick, and I like them grabbing it first there because of how much it influences the rest of the draft.
Yeah, absolutely, and now Cloud9 already eating into that bonus time on this second ban. It is going to be an Arden in the end. Obviously, we know Flash X for Arden. That is a very comfortable pick for him, so denying that one. And now, into these final 4 picks, what do we expect?
It's going to be most likely a Lyra pick here with Baptiste, because Lyra and Baptiste is high sustain. He has a lockdown, and Lyra's going to be able to give that heal to both Baptiste and a laner, so I feel like Lyra or potentially even Catherine could be a good play here. Or they might even take Glaive and run a Roam Glaive potentially, or actually flex Baptiste as a captain too. So they have a lot of options here, but I think those 3 are going to be the most obvious choices here, unless they want to secure a laner. But I feel like Lyra might be the best pick, and then potentially Glaive if they want to switch things up.
Yeah, and your opponent already...
Oh, Adagio gets picked.
Adagio has been a much bigger focus this week than I think we were expecting coming into this.
Yeah, I was not expecting to see a whole lot of Adagio in general, but at the same time, that is Cloud9 you're up against, taking Adagio away from them. Even if Old School isn't going to be the one playing it, Gabe Vizzle has played a phenomenal Adagio as well. I mean, you go back to last season, and their Adagio had an 87.5% win rate. It was 1 loss was all they had on Adagio combined as a team. So it's just smart to take that away, but they're going to take the Koshka regardless.
Yes. So you were right about the Fortress, but Koshka into Baptiste.
Yeah, but Fortress counters Baptiste, actually, and Adagio. So, like I said, that's why I was curious why they didn't just ban Fortress, because Fortress works really well into Baptiste here. So I think for TSM, they need to pick potentially something that can be able to withstand the amount of damage and burst coming out of Vox, Fortress, and Koshka. So the options that they have here, they're going to probably run Baptiste as a jungler and a captain Adagio. I don't think they're going to lane the Adagio here, but they have Glaive, Verona, and all that. But actually, they're going to go with Gwen instead. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup here. Gwen's pretty squishy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned them diving on and doing burst damage. Gwen is the perfect target for that, surely.
I don't think it's that much of an issue. You have the Skedaddle to avoid, like, if the Yummy Catnip Frenzy comes out onto you, then you can get an Aegis as well and block out 2 abilities. Also brings a stun to the table, though, and that was one of the things I was going to comment on is when you have the Baptiste for the Koshka, if Koshka can reflex block the Ordained, she'll be fine. Then you have the Crucible to deal with the Verse of Judgment, but if you add 1 more stun in there, all of a sudden Koshka can become a sitting duck. If this ace is high, can land onto the target, then they can really make this composition work for the side of Team SOLOMID.
Yeah, it could be beautiful for them. So quickly, before we jump on into this game, how do we feel this draft has gone, and what are going to be the game plans for these 2 teams moving forward?
I like Cloud9's draft a little better, but TSM can't outplay Cloud9 because Baptiste Fearsome Shade ultimate can push the Wolves and actually cancel ultimates. So as long as Von C can play that really well, TSM can pull a win here, but I'm going to favor Cloud9 here.
I mean, it's going to require impeccable reflex block timing from Cloud9. They have the ability to do that, but can they do it consistently throughout the entire game? Because 1 mistake is all it will take for Team SOLOMID to win this one, and that's how Cloud9 has lost games before.
Off there. We're running out of time on this one. We need a mechanical play. I Love Joseph is the guy for it. Make sure to get involved on social media. Hashtag Vainglory8 is it, but we're passing it over to Jackson and Jaws.
Thank you very much, guys. And TSM versus Cloud9, AJ. This is the matchup to be here for, right? TSM, do they reclaim their throne, or can Cloud9 just, clutch on it for a little bit longer? Best of 3, this is all going to come down to the wire.
Man, I'm so excited for this match, Jaws. I was actually at Mobile Masters just recently, and I was there casting the game where C9 took down Rock's Armada. You've got to know that they are feeling fantastic this weekend off the back of that win. Team SOLOMID, on the other hand, may be a little bit intimidated by that. Look at this Flash X going for a camp here.
Yep, Gabe Bizzle gets it though. Flash X, being a little bit greedy, but Gabe Bizzle does secure it for himself, so he's going to be all good. And now this is going to give Isle of Joseph a little bit of time to roam around. Only just losing that one camp won't be too much of an issue, but I mean, let's go back to that point. Beating Rock's Armada is something that not a lot of teams can actually do. I mean, coming into this one, you could kind of say then in that case that C9 have got a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, you could indeed. Best Chuck though.
Best Chuck, he's going to be all right. He's got, I Love Joseph isn't going to find him just yet. That turret does take a nice big chunk out of him though, so he'll have to recall.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a bad trade overall. I think Joseph probably wanted to back up sometime soon. You can see Vonsi didn't even fight, he did. So Joseph just used his time quite effectively there to harass Best Chuck a little bit. There's a lot of sustain coming out of Flash though. These kind of harassments are probably not going to be that impactful unless they're going for Flash.
Flash X is going pretty low, stepping a little bit too far forward. Has to blow those boots fairly early on. That's a big cooldown as well. That's 150 seconds on the clock for that one to actually re-come up. Or that's something along those lines. I mean, how would you say that? Reactivate? I don't know. He can activate them in about 130 seconds.
Perhaps?
Refresh, that's a good word.
That's the one I'm going to go for.
Yeah, I've
maybe
got my
heat
dictionary
up.
to hand, mate.
If it's cooldown, the inverse has got to be heat up, right?
Heat up. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could have that. Although it sounds kind of strange. Sounds like you're working off a lot of fire abilities, but that skin would deem otherwise. But TSM now just taking control of the lane. Vonsi wandering up, and I was wondering when we were going to see Baptiste in the competitive jungle, because he's been more of a captain role, but those buffs that Sweet J was mentioning earlier is really just pushed him forward up to more viability.
Yeah, I like the Batiste a lot. It does deal very nicely with Koshka, because when she's trying to use Yummy Catnip Frenzy or the Pouncy Fun, you can cast Ordained on the Koshka, and she's going to get stunned immediately after using that ability. So there's certainly some counterplay in the composition that TSM has drafted, but at the same time, there are some vulnerabilities too. I mean, Batiste is not going to be able to have the same tempo-setting ability that a Koshka does early game, and on top of that, Fortress does have a lot of ways to reduce the healing that Batiste is really strong with. So, as you know, Sweet J was saying on the analyst desk, it's kind of a back and forth pick. There are strengths to what TSM went for, but C9 are the ones who kind of have the onus on them, in my opinion. You know, they want to set the pace of this game with a Koshka, with a Fortress. They want to be aggressive. Whereas Team SOLOMID, they're, I think, fairly happy that there hasn't been a great deal of action yet. And they haven't even been trying to contest some of these bigger objectives, like Elder Train already went down to Joseph. But they don't want to go and actually fight that yet, because they know that in the lane, if they leave Best Chuck just to farm by himself, or if they all rotate down, they're at a bit of a disadvantage this early game.
Well, speaking of rotations, Cloud9 making their way into the jungle of TSM. They're going to be able to spot out Vonsi here, trying to take us back. Scape is always going to jump on him. Vonsi's going to sharply disembark from those backs after securing a couple. Ooh, nice Ordain onto Joseph. Flash X is going to be here as well. The rotation actually from the lane is actually being blocked off here from Old School. They're going to jump onto Best Chuck. He's going to use Skedaddle to be able to get out of there. No problems about him. Cloud9 is going to retreat as well, and that could have gone quite south for TSM there. Chuck didn't have his skedaddle up to him, but already, like you said, Cloud9 just setting the pace for this game.
You know, they are setting the pace, but it's not really the pace they're looking for, I feel. With that aggression, you want to find a kill or you want to find the camps, and with my color blindness, I can't be 100% sure, but it looked like Vonsi actually picked up both of the backs, so that really was not that great for Cloud9. I mean, they certainly forced maybe Best Chuck to forego a couple of CS in the lane, but he's still ahead of Old School too. Like, this is really not what Cloud9 wants to be doing, and they need to have more impact when they make these plays, or the scaling is going to get there for people like Best Chuck to hit that mid-game spike. He's already got a tension bow, so he's going to be doing a lot of damage in these fights. Batiste as well does spike quite hard after a couple of items. So you've definitely got to keep your eye on how Cloud9 are able to actually make these plays work. Speaking of which, Best Chuck has got to be careful.
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of plays, Fountain is actually going to get popped there from Flash X to keep Best Chuck alive. But you're speaking about the mid-game power spike of Best Chuck. I'd say early game, mate. About 3 minutes into it, in fact. TSM almost going a little bit too far forward. Gabe Bizzle escaping with his life, though. Won't be able to find that tension bow proc on him to finish him off. Vonsi is going to be here as well. Ordained actually onto Old School. Phantom comes out. Joseph's going to jump back in. Best Chuck and in a lot of trouble. Joseph picks up first blow. That's going to be massive for C9. And now Vonsi just trying to push forward, but that bad mojo is not going to find the kill on Joseph.
I think there's a little bit of miscommunication there. I mean, Vonsi came up as quickly as he could, but Flash X actually backed a little bit giving them the room to jump on to Best Chuck NA if they wanted to. So Cloud9 picks up first blood. That's of course great for them. It was maybe over eager of TSM to try and fight that so heavily. But they get punished for the mistake, and that's what happens against someone like Akashka. You miss position, she's going to stick on you. She has a gap closer, and she also has a huge speed up. It's big as well, and part of the reason why that fight was so critical, it's big as well because I Love Joseph was actually a little bit underleveled compared to Von C prior to that. Off the back, he's feeling pretty good, and Von C's lost that edge in terms of experience.
I mean, the best thing is for TSM in these team fights right now, regardless of this kind of experience lead, like you said, they've actually gained here, is that Best Chuck NA can just output so much damage in such a short period of time. He's got the Tension Bro, obviously does have his passive as well, and that's a very, very heavy hitting first basic attack, and that's going to force Joseph, old school, like one of the squishier members of Cloud9, back very quickly. TSM actually pushing onto this tier 1 turret now. TSM aren't going to be able to back off now though, as Cloud9 do go for this small engage, and once more you can see Best Chuck every now and then just dipping in and out of combat. That's exactly what he wants to do with that Tension Bro and with his passive alike, just to get the maximum amount of damage off and just make sure C9 and specifically Joseph just can't stick on top of him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That was actually a cool ordained at the beginning of that fight by Von C. It really stopped C9 from either being able to disengage or fully engage and let TSM poke them down a little bit, which I really, really like because they do have the ability to do that to a certain extent. I think as we move into some of these more mid-game, later on team fights, one thing you got to watch for is the amount of great disengage on TSM's side. We've talked about Cloud9 wanting to be the aggressors, and certainly they do, but something like a Verse of Judgment or a Fearsome Shade, or even just Skedaddle and Gwen running backwards can be really good for TSM when they're trying to reposition and just kite and deal damage. Cloud9 only really have a couple of really strong tools to engage, and Ordained is going to be the thing which hopefully deals with them for TSM. We do have a fight breaking out a little bit in the lane here, though.
Only a little bit, but Cloud9 once more just going to be able to back off nice and tightly. I mean, the Crucible is going to be there for Gabe Vizzle right now. He does have a fountain available to him as well, so heavily prioritizing those defensive items in order to make sure Von C can't get a nice Ordain off on Joseph. Speaking of Ordain, actually, Joseph in a lot of trouble. Is locking him down, locks him up, and Best Chuck kill. That's TSM on the board now.
That was close. If TSM's other members and Von C had been just a little further away, the Ordained would have worn out before Best Chuck could get in there and get some attacks down. He might have been able to get out, but overall, really strong play out of TSM. They're kind of abusing the lack of vision so far from C9. You can see Gabe doesn't have any in his back pocket right now. And actually, these trades are going very well for TSM.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of lack of vision, Cloud9 and actually punishing TSM a little bit there, well, FlashX and Best Chuck specifically not having any vision in that brush. Did get a little bit of damage on the tier 1 turret, so it's all lost for Cloud9 just yet. With TSM taking that gold mine though, will just extend their gold lead. It's about 800 at this current moment in time, and things that TSM and Cloud9 tend to do, and you saw it in the Unified Championships, was their early game so close, so close. It really does come down to that late game decision making that we kind of know TSM and Cloud9 for. I mean, FlashX specifically, extremely intelligent player. I personally want him to keep playing, no matter what he says. I like watching him play as captain player, something to aspire to, I think. The TSM, I mean, and Cloud9, it's really going to happen in the late stages of the game, because realistically, you can look at these two teams and say, yes, they're just going to battle out head-to-head, and it's going to be very even until the mid-game power spikes happen.
Yeah, certainly it seems that way for now. One thing I want to highlight is that Von C went for a Shatterglass super early here. I really like that, actually. Especially with the composition he's running. A lot of what TSM wants to do is burst whoever jumps in first. Like, even if it's Fortress, even if it's the Roamer, the captain jumping in, they don't really mind, because at least in this early game stage, he's not that tanky. And with the Shatterglass and the Tension Bow on Gwen, they can force him to just take a lot of damage right out in the onset of the fight. So I like the fact that he's going for something like that, rather than something which might be stronger over the course of a longer fight, or maybe better at just poking him out. For example, like Frostburn might be good there. But here comes the engage from C9.
The engagement does come out. Gabe is all fairly low. Like you said, that's a lot of damage down very quickly. Von C actually using that Fearsome Shade to knock all of Cloud9 back. FlashX actually mistiming the ultimate there, but it's not going to be too much of an issue. Actually, it might be an issue now. Fountain is going to get popped. Von C trying to make his way out of that fight. Gabe Vizzle picks up a kill though. Another one does land. Old School managing to pick off Best Chuck, and now FlashX all alone. There comes the only Catnip Frenzy. He is surely going to go down. Gabe Vizzle tanking up that turret with his And that'll be another kill on the board for Cloud9, 4-1, and they're going to take this tier 1 turret.
That was a big miscommunication mistake. You do not want to pop the Verse of Judgment and the Fearsome Shade at the same time. They would have had to either make the decision to run away of their own volition if the Verse of Judgment came down and the Fearsome Shade did not, or they would have had to make the choice of whether they want to go in again after the Fearsome Shade and into a potential Verse if they actually decided to use just the Fearsome Shade. So that was TSM not really utilizing staggering their ultimate abilities, and that's how they win these fights. It's like I was talking about earlier on. They don't necessarily have the ability to fight, I guess a fair fight is the way I put it. They need to use these big ultimate crowd control abilities to set themselves off on the right foot. If you mix them together, these are two that just have anti-synergy, right? Like, you're forcing people out of a zone you want them in.
I mean, just wrong committal there, or timings, like you said, was a little bit of TSM's downfall. I mean, staggering the CC is always an important thing in any MOBA. Just making sure you can get the maximum amount of crowd control off on one person, then just lock them down, insta-kill them, and then move on to the 2v3. Now, TSM are just going to be able to push forward with Cloud9. They do take a gold mine, so that's one apiece at the moment for each side. There's a nice Ordain. Here comes the wait for it as well. It's going to be a big silence onto Best Chuck and Bonsi. They're going to have to run away from this one. They're all grouped up together. FlashX, Fountain's not going to help you now, buddy. The rest of his team falls around him. Cloud9 is just going to chase him underneath this tier 2 turret now. Joe's old school is actually going to have to catch up a little, buddy. You're going to have to get your movement speed boots on, but FlashX is going to go down in the end. Joseph manages to pick up the kill with the help of Gabe Bizzle. Once more, their turret control as well is extremely good. The tanking and just being able to get the targeting of the turret on Gabe Bizzle has just been sublime.
So the big issue there for Team SOLOMID was actually engaging the fight in the first place. Going for an Ordained onto Old School is rarely, unless he's already primed and about to tap Sonic Zoom, going to actually result in a stun. And if it doesn't result in a stun, he's going to turn around, he's going to hit you with a Tension Bro proc. It's going to do a lot of damage, and then Joseph doesn't need to worry about Ordained for either Pouncy Fun or the Yummy Cat and Frenzy. You saw that there. As soon as that Ordained wore off, everyone from C9 was like, okay, we have nothing to worry about now. Old School can follow up the engagement of Fortress and the Kashka, and we're just going to be able to kill them too quickly. Von C needs a longer fight to do a lot of work in many cases, and at this point, you know, in the mid-game, honestly, Gwen kind of does too. Like, early game, yeah, Gwen in a really fast fight is just going to pop you. But in the mid-game, heading into the 15-minute mark, she needs a bit longer of a fight to really have that impact, especially with a breaking point, which is the itemization she's gone for. So I've got to disagree with the shot call, or perhaps the sort of gut play of Von C to go in and kick that fight off with Ordained specifically. If he just wants to throw out one of his bottles and get some harassment down, that's a different story. You're kind of saying, all right, we're going to harass you here, and if you don't want to take harassment for free, you have to engage into us, and that's when Ordained is really good, because it actually stops the engagement from C9. C9 right now, though, they have control of the map. They're going to take a sentry and go in here.
Attacking the pack and wait for it goes a little bit wide. TSM managing to dodge out of that one pretty easily. And those bad mojos, they are stacking up a lot of damage, like you said. It's going to be very easy for now for Von C to poke the rest of Cloud9 out. Just chucking them. How many vials does he actually have? Like, this guy is just chucking them all over the place. I mean, see, the fold is going to be littered with glass at this point. It's going to be quite painful for the rest of C9 to actually step on it. I'm kind of worried for Joseph here, AJ.
I've got to agree with you, not to mention the sort of toxic nature of those vials anyway. But yeah, I think that was an opportunity maybe for TSM. We saw 2 ultimates burned. That was the wait for it as well as the attack of the pack. So if they were going to go in, that was maybe a good opportunity to do so, because silence can be very disruptive to TSM's plan. They have, whenever you have 1 or 2 big abilities, silence is more impactful because it stops you from using them when you want to, and you don't have necessarily great follow-up. You haven't necessarily just used an ability, it's on cooldown anyway, so the silence doesn't affect you. The silence is always going to affect you a lot if you have a Verse of Judgment or a Fearsome Shade. So if they wanted to go in, that was the time to do it. Silence wasn't available, but they just feel maybe a little bit cautious about doing that right now, and I understand why. Because C9 has really been showing that they're the ones setting the tempo for this game. They're 5,000 gold in the lead, and now they're actually looking towards a Kraken, which TSM is going to be hard-pressed to stop.
Yeah, they're just like, I'm gonna take this one away just to make sure, you know, TSM, you don't need your hands on it right now. We got our paws and claws and everything in it at this current moment. That's going to go down with TSM not really having an answer whatsoever. I don't think they even know what's going on, AJ. That's going to go over. They will know now. That's
yeah,
for
they
sure.
probably had an inkling that it could be happening, but just decided they couldn't do anything about it. I do think they probably have a better chance of winning a fight by a turret right now because they have a lot of these big crowd control abilities that you want your opponents engaging upon you on. And, you know, your opponents, when you're sitting there and you're dealing with the Kraken, kind of do have to do something if they want to really fully capitalize on that push. Unfortunate for C9 that the wave is actually staggered the way it is. Kraken moving up, and TSM's going to get a lot of free damage onto it, as is the turret. But C9, what are they going to do here? How do they make this engage happen? That's the question. They could consider just going for the dive, but I think they're better off just dealing damage to the turret.
I mean, Cloud9, we've already seen how well they can juggle that turret aggro. Okay, Bizzle just being the master of that, it seems. That turret is going to get destroyed. That's going to open up the base. It's exactly what Cloud9 wanted. And the thing is with this Kraken, AJ, the thing is with the Kraken, right? TSM know that at least one turret is going to get taken down just because they haven't got the damage there. They've got a lot of burst damage from Vonsy. They've got a lot of burst damage from Best Chuck. No massive sustained damage they can really stack up. Breaking point, obviously, on Best Chuck is fantastic, but there's no Storm Crown on their Roma. There's like the Fortress can build, for example. Hasn't got it in this game, but there's not like massive, like neutral objective controlling items on the side of TSM right now. So they know it was going to go down, and now it's just Cloud9's game. Win off this. We know Cloud9 and TSM are those teams that can take early objectives, take early advantages, and just push it through to late. And it can be so hard for some teams to kind of even make an edge back in even.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. One thing that I'm seeing from this game, especially after watching C9 play just yesterday against Rox Armada, is how there are some similarities to that game in that they are very measured. They are not really overdoing it, although here comes the engage from C9.
Wartreads is going to get bot. Here's the Ordained. It's going to get blocked. Burst Judgment's coming through as well, but that's a double silence on the backline of TSM. Still kiting very, very well. The heals are going to come out from Flash X, but it's not going to matter because Best Chuck and A is going to fall. Flash X is to follow as well. That Crystal Sentry arriving just moments too late. That will get taken by Cloud9 as well. It's going to be eliminated, and Cloud9 taking another 2 kills off TSM here, and they might just look for the win.
Honestly, that was the kind of team fight that TSM wanted in terms of how they used their abilities, but they might just be a little bit too far behind at this point. Also, I think Vonsy probably needs to take the brunt of the damage over Best Chuck. Best Chuck's the one who's going to carry you through that. But that was a great fearsome shade. Vonsy just styling on Joseph a little bit here. Got to be careful, though.
Yeah, Bad Mojo doing a fair bit of damage as well. You could say he was styling. I'd say he's more trying to actually kill the rest of the Cloud9 members. They're still pushing out now, Val. This is the opportunity for TSM. Try something here, at least get a little bit of vision down. Cloud9 on the retreat, but they are just going to completely wipe out TSM's jungle, and that's exactly what you want to see from them. Look at the gold lead as well. Obviously, like I mentioned before, 700 in the pocket for Cloud9, and now it is grown to 7,000.
Yeah, things are getting definitely out of hand for Team SOLOMID. They need kind of a miracle to come back into this one, I think. If they fight like they did in that last fight, though, and maybe hit one more item spike or have the Kraken helping them by damaging C9, they could, by all means, actually take home a fight. It just relies on really perfect positioning, I think, from Best Chuck. Here comes C9 again, though.
Well, Cloud9 don't want to let that happen. The wave for it is going to come out. It's going to silence 3 members. There comes the Bad Mojo. Yummy County Frenzy actually does lock up one. That's twirly death on 3 people. Joseph is just ripping through them now. Cloud9, they're just going to swipe, slice, and dice their way through TSM. Cloud9 find the ace, and they're probably going to be able to buy the game as well. That Kraken is on the board, but AJ, I don't think they're going to need it.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely. We've got 30-ish seconds on most people, 2 turrets left, and a lot of damage on Old School. In that fight, Best Chuck did not use his Aegis when that Yummy Catnip came out. Maybe he was expecting something like a Crucible to stop it for him. But regardless of how nitpicky you want to be on the play itself, there was overall just too much gold in C9's pocket. They're going to take this one, Joss.
Yes, they are 1 turret down, 2 turret down. TSM are fleeing from their base. That fearsome shade hits 3, but it's not going to matter. Cloud9 will take this first game off of TSM. And who'd have known it? Cloud9 now showing that they are the kings of North America. That scoreline to prove it as well. 12-1. Absolutely superbly played. And almost a perfect game from them as well. Joseph, that 1 death buddy, kind of letting your team down.
Yeah, that was a really solid performance, honestly, from C9. I'm excited to see what they can bring to us in Game 2.
Absolutely. We're going to jump straight over to the desk, however. They're going to break down this game a little bit further, but what more there is to say, I don't know. Much. Take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Honestly, TSM getting a little bit old-schooled in that game. It definitely felt like once C9 had taken a little bit of a lead in the game, it just felt like there was no way back in for TSM.
Yeah, TSM, their teamwork is really just has been lacking of late, and that's what I saw in this game. Like, they never seem to all engage. Like, they didn't try and use their abilities in succession to be able to try and get the crowd control to land, and then they weren't blocking crowd control that was coming in on them. And it was very strange.
And like I said in the draft, when you pick Baptiste, you want to ban Fortress because Fortress is good against Baptiste and it counters the sustain that he provides because you can stand your ground and actually fight back against Baptiste. And that's why I said Fortress needed to be banned here instead of Lance.
Yeah, I mean, the Fortress was huge in those fights, and just it definitely felt like once the fights had started, TSM throughout those team fights, I mean, I don't want to go too in-depth in the analysis. That's not necessarily my job, but it felt like TSM were always constantly kind of trying to run away from the fights. They were never the ones pushing on forwards. They were never the ones actually engaging. And I do believe we have one of the replays of the team fights from earlier on, but it was definitely a matter of Cloud9 just taking the initiative and really running things home.
Yeah, it really was. And we're going to see in this team fight, it's a bit of early damage and pressure going on at the Fortress, but then Cloud9 just decides, you know what, we're just going to engage onto you. And they're going to be going ahead and getting themselves back into the fight all of a sudden and swinging it in their favor because Team SOLOMID just not really able to jump into their stuff.
Yeah, the coordination wasn't really there for TSM in that fight. You saw one of them goes in, it was Vonsi jumping on in, gets the triple fear, and FlashX wasn't anticipating that CC, so he channels his ultimate, but then it doesn't hit anyone because Vonsi's just scared them all away.
And that was what I said after the draft. I was like, there's so much crowd control on the side of Team SOLOMID that if they just use it properly, they time it all properly, there's not going to be the ability to reflex block all of it. But that never ended up happening. Like, reflex blocks didn't have to come out on the Fearsome Shade or didn't have to come out on the Verse of Judgment. And as a result, you know, the Gwen was just never really able to solidify herself as a major threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's another team fight that we're going to have a look at here and a little bit more depth on this one. Sweej is going to be the one to take it away on this one. He's going to go over to our telestrator and give us a little bit more depth on how and why this game went the way that it did. Take it away, Sweej.
Thank you so much, Munchable. So here, this is a key fight that really determines the rest of the game. So we're going to roll it here and show you guys what happened specifically in this fight and what TSM could have done to maybe potentially turn this around. So you can see they meet up in lane. Gwen is going to use her buckshot to then engage, and then Baptiste engages with Ordain, and then Gabe Vizsla here is going to ult with Fortress, right? And here, when Baptiste then releases his ult, you can see that Gabe blocks it. So what Flash could have done was go in and actually ult. So with Fortress, how the wolves work is if they get damaged 3 times, so Baptiste ultimate, right? Adagio ultimate and a Gwen buckshot or some basic attack, the wolves will be cleared. And also the reflex blocks are used by the team there. And the Adagio ult would do some damage. And potentially that could have put the fight in favor of TSM, and also a late fountain actually came out. As we roll it here, you can see how this pans out after the fight breaks down. And you can see the fountain actually comes out a little late, and the Koshka stun is not blocked in time. So that's what kind of decided the fight there, but it could have went a different way. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can see the fountain that, as you rightly say, kind of landing on them as they die, and it's like everything about the team fight for TSM just felt just a little bit out. Yeah, exactly. It's just not quite exactly what they needed. But here's that fight actually in full speed.
Yeah, and again, just the things that Sweej was just talking about and just pointing out, you can see it's in real time. It's so close. You know, it's much easier to see when it's slowed down like that, but in real time, just split seconds away from being able to potentially turn that fight back around in favor of Team SOLOMID. But those are the kinds of plays we're used to seeing TSM make and turn around into their favor. And now it's not going their way. And again, you have to wonder, like, how much of this is just other teams being extremely good and catching up to TSM, and how much of it is maybe, you know, the mental state of these players. Because, you know, as much as they're saying, oh, we fully support Flash, at the same time, Best Chuck and Von C have to be sitting there knowing, like, we're about to lose it. We might be losing our captain who's been here for us all this time. Like, that's gotta grate on you. No matter what you show outwardly, on the inside, I would be stunned if it's not affecting them in some way.
Right, we'll have to see. I don't want to go too hard on TSM just yet. the series isn't over. They are only 1-0 down. And let's start to talk about the next game in the series, as the game is just about getting ready. As we head on into the draft, what are we expecting? Does TSM need to change their game here, Suijay?
Yeah, I think they need to draft properly and also make sure that they engage at the right time. I forgot to mention one thing is the Adagio wasn't ready for that fight, and they shouldn't have engaged until their ultimates are all up. And I think that's a key part of winning a fight. You can see when Cloud9 engages, all of their abilities are up and ready to go. And I feel like that's a key to winning a lot of fights, is making sure all your teammates have their ultimates up.
And that's kind of like this sounds harsh, but that's kind of like a basic requirement, right? Make sure that everything's off cooldown so that you're going in at a level playing field.
Oh, yeah, it is one of those things, but I mean, at the same time, we've been fairly harsh on Team SOLOMID. Like you said, we shouldn't. Maybe we don't want to go too deep on that, because at the same time, they're playing the best team in the West.
That is very
a team
true.
that just beat the reigning world champion. Like, we have to be giving. I don't think we're giving enough credit to Cloud9 for how incredibly well they played this game out, being able to engage when those ultimates are not available and deciding to engage during those moments.
Now, Baron has been locked in. We've been rattling through the start of this ban. Vox is going to be banned away, though, but this is the first time we've seen Baron actually picked. We've seen it banned quite a few times today. What are we expected to see based on that?
Yeah, so basically I think they're going to do lane Adagio here into Baron, and they need to pick a hero like Taka potentially that can get onto Baron and basically apply the damage and the burn, so that Adagio can then buff himself and do a lot of burst damage onto that Baron. So over here, I think Cloud9 is probably going to pick like potentially a Taka or Blackfire that can get onto Baron and basically counter him.
Arden is going to be the pick, which means that that is not going to be a Captain Adagio. Where do we expect that to go instead now?
The Adagio is going into the lane. It's old school. You got it. I mean, this is one of the heroes. I mean, Rox Armada banned Adagio away from old school in the gauntlet just the other day, and so I've always been a huge fan of old school on Adagio. And I've always pretty much said, if Cloud9 has Adagio and it goes into the lane, I think Cloud9's going to win it. Even if without seeing the rest of the draft, I'm going Cloud9 on this one.
Wow, that's strong statements coming out from Tasty Bacon right there. Lyra going to be locked in for TSM. We know FlashX for Lyra. He played it a ton in London, and the Batiste as well. So full composition now for TSM. Over on Cloud9, how do you expect them to finish this one off, Suijay?
Yeah, they're probably going to go with a Blackfeather because he can get through the Ordain and also can get on to the Baron. So Blackfeather would probably be the pick here. Yep.
All right, well, the Blackfeather is going to be locked in. That was a very quick draft. Very much that these two teams definitely know what they want to achieve and know how they want to achieve it. So just rattling on through that one, and that's going to be our compositions locked in. So, I mean, Bacon, you've already made your feelings known on this draft. Suijay, how do you feel this draft's gone?
I like TSM's draft as long as they protect the Baron and keep Blackfeather off the Baron and basically a Baron keeps his distance from Adagio with good positioning. They can win this game because Baron's late game is just really, really strong.
So this game is going to be all about how Baron can play, how best Chuck NA will be able to play that carry and carry his team and get towards that late game so that you can hyperscale on the Baron.
Yeah, I think this is going to be heavily determined by the lane matchup. Old School's Adagio, again, has been unbeatable, but Baron is incredible in the late game, the massive amounts of burst. However, Cloud9 just beat a Baron, one of the best laners in the world on Baron, so I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. Don't forget to get involved on social media. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter is the way that you can let us know who you are supporting, Cloud9 or TSM. TSM right now are on the ropes. We'll find out if that's going to continue to be the case as we pass it over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Munch and the guys. AJ, we're in game number 2, my men. We're about to see if TSM can come back. Can they bounce back? Or are Cloud9 just going to rise up above the proverbial cloud that they're already on and just sail to victory?
Honestly, I mean, I'm pretty intrigued by the Baron pick here. I do feel prepared to talk about it because, of course, I just saw a ton of Baron yesterday when I was at the Mobile Masters. Rox Armada played that, I think, 4 out of their 5 games. But what is interesting to me is definitely that TSM decided to pick it into C9 after they just handily managed to beat this when Rox Armada played it. They do have a bit of a different composition with the Baron. I like the Batiste and the Lyra with Baron. Those are things that can protect it very effectively, as our analysts were talking about. But, you know, as we just heard Bacon say, C9 really did just beat one of the world's best players playing Baron. They're well prepared going into this.
They're prepared. They're willing to fight for their lives. Well, not necessarily for their lives. We're only in the first game of the NA season, but still, Cloud9 still wanting to keep hold of their high hopes. They came off from the Unified Championship. Vonsi actually getting a cheeky roam off here, but Gabe Vizzle will meet him. FlashX is going to be down here with the Sigil. He's going to be able to heal him up, but that's going to be quite negligible at this point in the game. Gabe Vizzle actually having to use the boost to run away. A lot of sustain on the side of Vonsi at this moment, but I Love Joseph seems to want to fight consistently.
He misses it.
Up by FlashX. That Sigil is going to be pretty big. Old School's going to heal him over with all best. Chuck in a lot of trouble, but first blood goes over to TSM, and Vonsi is going to chase down Gabe Vizzle. Bad mojo to finish him off. 2 kills for TSM already.
That was a very bold roam and attempt at a fight from C9. I understand you want to protect your jungle, but past a certain point, it's time to bail on the fight. That point was when Vonsi, it was clear that Vonsi was going to hit his empowered state from his perk before they were able to kill him. And at that point, you know, you can't trade basic attacks with a Baptiste as a Blackfeather in that situation. It's just not going to happen. Then Joseph misses his on point just to top things off, add insult to injury. Cloud9 getting 2-0'd in that fight is a really, really rough start to the game. We've seen what happens when Baron teams get out of control early. C9 need to be very wary about giving anything else over here, because Baron, if he gets out of control early, is pretty much impossible to deal with.
Tell you what is impossible to deal with, a Bright Bulwark as well. That engagement from Cloud9 is going to be so thwarted in these team fights if FlashX can get a good one off. And Best Chakane's got all the protection in the world. Not right now, though, because he's going to get jumped on. That Sigil is going to heal him up quite nicely. Joseph not being able to follow that one up. Does end up getting a little bit of healing from Old School. But other than that, TSM, very happy player, somewhat aggressive here. Old School is going to get stunned up. That was a beautiful Ordain. And they will find another kill. It's going to go on to Vonsi. Gabe Vizzle just trying to trade back in, but I'm not sure that's all too wise. TSM just going to push this minion wave in, and that will be it. TSM 3-0 in 3 minutes, AJ.
C9 look a little bit discombobulated to me after they lost that first fight. What happened in the lane there is honestly something you can predict, and I think Old School was far too close. You know, he's got enough range that he doesn't need to be that close to the enemy side bush, mustache bush rather. It really does put you in a very dicey position. C9 now, though, being the aggressors here on Vonsi and Flash.
Yeah, Vonsi and Flash now slowed up by I Love Joseph. A Best Chaka is here. Ordain does come down. Joseph's just going to dive straight in. Hang on a second. That's 1, 2, 3 rockets have hit. And TSM are turning this fight around. Joseph is really low on the backside here. Old School's going to get taken out as a double kill for Vonsi. Joseph on the run. TSM jump jets from Best Chaka and A. Nice double rocket to finish him off. 6-0, 4 minutes in now. That's an extra 3 kills and an ace almost as well for TSM.
C9 are really not thinking about where the other member on the team of Team SOLOMID could be when they go for a fight. Like, I understand why they went for that. They got Flash very low and they had a lot of heartthrob stacks on him, so maybe an execute was possible coming out of Joseph. But similar to the fight earlier where they didn't really expect Vonsi to be in the mustache bush, there, they didn't expect Best Chuck to be coming back from base, but you didn't see him in lane for quite some time. He's going to have that shorter path, and you know he's going to show up exactly there. Like, he's not going to show up from above or behind you. He's going to show up exactly there. So if you walk into that spot, there's likely going to be mortars. It was just a little bit too aggressive for my liking. Best Chuck, of course, has hit, you know, a power spike with that Sara Blade now. C9 are heavily on the back foot. They do scale nicely. Blackfeather is a hero that can do a lot of work in the late game, and honestly is one of the few heroes who could maybe deal with a Baron later on, just because you have so many gap closers. You can get over things like Ordain, but they're really tempting fate right now with how they're playing. C9 needs to be careful not to give away things for free.
Well, they've technically given a good old 6 kills away for free, you could put it. Best Chuck and A, like you said, to hit that power spike of that Sora Blade, so he's packing an absolute punch, not like he wasn't before. What's the worst thing to do against a Baron? Group up, and that's exactly what they have been doing. Cloud9 right now just trying to defend this tier 1 turret, and with that Baron composition, like you said, if it scales out of control or if it gets out of control, scale out of control, and you will be in a lot of trouble. Cloud9 now, they are a game up, something to keep in mind. Joseph is going to get jumped on here. Ordain is going to be pretty nice. Bright Bulwark as well is going to snare them all up, but Gabe Vizzle's really low, already has to jump out of the fight. Speaking of jumping, Chuck wants to get the hell out of there as Old School does come down. He has to hit the alternating current power spike as well, but TSM are happy just to back off now.
The alternating current power spike is absolutely massive for Old School. Maybe he wants to do something with it, but Joseph and him both don't have 6. in a lot of these fights, you kind of want to have that. Gabe Vissel sort of needs it too. Whereas we've got Von C at level 6 now. Fearsome Shade could just break a fight for C9. They don't have any answer to that at the moment. And, you know, any time that they really commit, they're just going to get feared away.
Every time I see a Fed Baron, I always think to myself, when I'm in the lane, I carry, how is this even fair that this hero exists? Because when he's got an item above you, or half an item or whatever, a couple of kills, it can just feel so unfair to play against. The wave clear, the amount of burst damage, and the amount of splash damage as well he does to your whole team is quite confusing at times. I'll put it that way. As Cloud9 are a little bit confused right now of what to do, I think. 6 minutes in, 6 kills, and a 2k gold lead for TSM as well. They're just going to push onto this tier 1, and that gold mine is almost full as well now, AJ.
Yeah, it is, and that's a good opportunity for Team SoloMid, certainly, to force a fight with their experience advantage and items in the lead here. Honestly, things could be worse. Like, if Best Chuck had gone for a tension bow, the burst at the beginning of these fights would have been really, really bad for C9. But even still, oh, look at the ion cannon! That was really close to stopping Ultra's back and potentially even doing enough to chunk him out there. But Team SoloMid, with that one member gone, does have the opportunity to really lay siege to the turret, or maybe rotate down, take vision, and consider looking towards some objectives here. You can see the mortars is coming in, doing the work.
Well, Joseph wants to try something. Here's a Gabe Vissel with the gauntlet. Does turn up Best Chuck, but Best Chuck's just glided back here. One member of TSM's almost already fallen. Von C has gone down. It's almost like Scone. Idol Joseph does end up picking up that kill, and Flash X did have to use that passageway to get away in the end. And now, using their initiative with a Gabe Vissel hitting that level 6 power spike is absolutely huge for Cloud9 and making these plays happen.
It really is. That was big. Best Chuck does not have an overdrive on his jump jets yet, so he can't actually jump out of the gauntlet and avoid the stun. As a result, he certainly could not turn around and help his teammate to not actually get taken out. This has given C9 a bit of breathing room. I like the fact that, you know, they were able to make that play as soon as they hit the spike. They didn't waste any time. But what I would have really liked to see, to be honest, is Gabe Vissel putting down vision off the back of it. You saw C9 safely move up into the tri-bush of TSM, but where are the scout traps, right? Like, they haven't actually established that vision, and I think they kind of need to, given the fact that they've died several times not knowing where TSM's third member is going to be coming from. On the flip side, TSM, that's one of those, you know, you can't really play around that. You can't expect Gabe Vissel to come back into the lane when both of his teammates are already there, and be level 6 when the last time you saw him he was level 5. That kind of play implies that Gabe got level 6 very safely somewhere else, and with that hidden information, C9 were able to use it to their advantage. Right now, Joseph is going to have to make his way back up to the lane. Think about defending this turret, though, because the poke damage coming out of Best Chuck is huge.
Absolutely massive. Ordain is going to get blocked, though, by I Love Joseph. He is going to be able to back off nice and safely. Those bad mojos, by the way, are absolutely packing a punch. He landed a 2-piece there on Cloud9. It chunked Old School, chunked Gabe Vissel, and just like Old School now, is just going to have to back, and they might just surrender this turret now. Ordain not hitting, actually. Vissel is going to actually pop the Crucible there just to be safe. Nathan, sorry in this situation, but TSM take the tier 1 turret.
I think that C9, if they want to really have a chance in these fights, do need to make snap decisions to go in. That's what they're going to do right now.
Speaking of snap decisions, AJ, here comes a gauntlet. It's going to get stunned up here and feared away. Gabe Vissel, see you later. Joseph's going to fall as well. Old School alone in the backline here. It's going to use that burst of judgment. TSM is just going to chunk that one up. No problemo. Best Jug is going to be able to find himself the last kill with the help of Von C. Ace for TSM. And that'll be them pushing down onto this tier 2 turret.
Very nice counter initiation there from Team SoloMid, going for the Fearsome Shade. They knew, I think, that Crucible wasn't going to be quite available in time due to the fact that it was burned right beforehand. I think that if C9 had made that play with Crucible available, very different story, right? Like I was just saying as that fight started, they need to be very decisive in these fights. They need to just make a snap decision and go, so that they use all of their cooldowns efficiently and they don't get forced out. You know, if you sort of go in and then go out and go in and go out against what TSM has, you're just going to get hit by a plethora of the vials, lots of mortars. There's a lot of very efficient, you know, energy efficient abilities that can just constantly poke you down from Team SoloMid. So you have to just go and commit to that fight, but you need to have Crucible. Like, you know that Fearsome Shade is going to annihilate your team if you don't have it.
I mean, that's what Gabe Vissel did pop earlier in the fight, and Von Siege said thank you very much. 3-man Fearsome Shade, and that was very, very devastating for Cloud9. 9-1 and a 6k gold lead now. Make that 5k as the 20 just ticks over from the 19. TSM, they got a lot of AoE as well, and that's exactly what they're doing very, very well. Best Chuck repositions himself with the jump jets. Joseph's in the front, just gets deleted. Fonzie ends up trading his own life, though, as a double kill comes through for Best Chuck, but Gabe Vizzle, the last member alive for Cloud9, on the retreat. And Best Chuck NA is unrelenting on this Baron pick. Control early, and it's getting out of control late.
Best Chuck has hit critical mass at this point. You're really not going to be able to do anything unless you kill him first thing in a fight. He's hitting for like critical strikes of 700 damage or something like that. It's just not, it's not feasible to do anything about that unless you go for him straight away. In that fight, I like the fact that, you know, they again made that snap decision, but they just lost a bunch of gold. So the win condition changes every fight, right? Like 2 fights ago, C9 were probably close enough in gold that they could just go in if they had a Crucible. Well, moving 1 fight forwards, they're now too far behind because the additional item spikes have been hit on the side of Team SOLOMID. What C9 now needs to do and needed to do in advance of that fight is probably back away, take some vision, try and either catch someone out with the edge of a gauntlet wall or just engage on a poor positioning member of Team SOLOMID.
Well, poor positioning is something they just haven't had. TSM as a whole, really. I mean, well, I spoke about it a minute ago with Vonsi and Best Chuck having so much AoE damage, it's very hard for them to actually just engage completely and lose a fight, especially if they're grouped up. Speaking of being grouped up, Gauntlet is going to come down for Gabe Vizzle. There's going to be a massive jump jets away. The Olaf Joseph's just getting destroyed, but those shields coming through really big for him, keeping him alive in the fight. They take out Vonsi first. Now TSM, they're on a 2v3 situation right now. Vonsi just got deleted, and you saw the shields from Joseph. That was half his HP bar.
That was a nice, attempt to go in for the fight. There was a lot of abilities burned before C9 engaged, so they knew they could go in and just pop someone and leave, which is definitely what they needed to do in that situation. That was the poor positioning I was talking about. You can't, as Team SOLOMID, commit all of your resources into trying to burst down Gabe Vizzle, because you saw how low Joseph went, even though there was a bunch of cooldowns just used on Gabe Vizzle, right? Imagine if everything was available for Joseph, well, he was going to die there. So you need to make sure you're picking the right target. The composition you have is very much about just killing one person very quickly. That's why the Baptiste Fonzie has gone for the Shatterglass. That's why Best Chuck has gone for Sarblade Tension Bow, even the Tyrant's Monocle. So you have to commit to one person, and if you commit to the captain this late in the game, when he's got 3 defensive items and health on top, you're not going to get that kill straight away.
I mean, Joseph's got a lot of regen now as well. He's got Samba's Mask, he's got the Poison Shiv, so he's sustaining pretty nicely in these team fights if the team fight can go late enough that TSM just doesn't annihilate one member straight off the back. They are going to go for the gold mine. It's going to get freely taken unless Joseph can get a sneaky on point off, but I don't think he will be able to. 238 gold go in the back pockets of TSM now. That is going to be a nice pickup there for Flash X. Okay, just going to help them out a fair bit in these team fights. Just make sure I Love Joseph can't get the maximum amount of damage off possible. And now TSM, not... Well, I say no damage, almost no damage on that tier 1 turret for Cloud9. They really need to make something happen. But at this point in the game, when it gets this late, we're talking about 15 minutes now with 4 items completed on Best Chuck. It's going to be very, very hard for Cloud9 to win team fights.
It is. One thing I want to highlight that I really like is smart, use of your overdrives. If going for the overdrive on his lunge does mean that the slows coming out of things like Bulwark, Lyra's Perk, Vonsi's Vial, all of those are going to be mitigated quite a bit by Joseph. Really, really like that. His team does need the ability to run in and just capitalize on someone. Anytime you get Best Chuck low, he's going to jump jets away. Like, if he's in real danger, he's just going to get jets away, and you need to be able to quickly chase him up. There's not a lot of gap closers other than Joseph in this team. Like, old school, the main damage can't follow, unless he's on that Rose Trail. So makes sense there from C9. They have, in the last couple of fights, found ways of edging into the game, trying to stay inside of it. But with Kraken now on the map, TSM has something they can leverage, something they can use as an anchor point and pivot around on the map to force C9 to do things they don't really want to do.
I mean, that's a very good point. TSM can, like you said, anchor and pivot around this Kraken, because if they force Cloud9 into a choke, it's going to be very easy for them just to... all of the members of Cloud9 fairly instantaneously, especially with the bad mojo coming from Von C and Best Chuck's just inherent splash damage. Like TSM now, I'm going to start up this Kraken here, AJ. Cloud9, they know it's going on. This is the thing, but Gabe Vizzle just taking so much damage already from Best Chuck, just getting poked out. Cloud9 might want to make a little play on this. Kraken is going to reset here. Gauntlet comes
man.
down, but Gabe Vizzle almost going down instantly. Has to use the boost to get away, but Joseph's in a 1v2 situation on the back line. Iron Cannon's going to come down and annihilate 3 people almost. Old School is going to get locked up as well. Does manage to catch out Best Chuck here, but hasn't got the regen to survive. TSM come up with the ace there, and that went so south for Cloud9.
It did, but I'm honestly surprised they even found 1 kill. They initiated that fight without any flares in Gabe Vizzle's pocket, so they didn't know exactly where everyone was standing when it came to that tri-bush. But, you know, the problem was really Old School getting feared, right? Like, Old School got hit by the Fearsome Shade and wasn't attacking the entire time Joseph was tanking his opponents. If he was attacking the entire time during that fight, I actually think C9 would have been able to pick up either 2 kills and then leave with 1 member on either side, or just straight up win the fight. They were that close to turning that around.
They were close, but TSM were closer, and they did manage to take up that Kraken. 7,000 and a bit, 7.7k exactly in the lead for TSM right now. Ever growing. They've been saying, you know, well, we've been working really hard. We have been. We know Cloud9 did take that 3-1 victory over us at the Unified Championships, but we are ready to come back into this one fighting. And this is exactly what we're doing right now. And like you said, they did take games of Rox Armada at Baron. Well, Rox Armada using that Baron, sorry, so they know how to deal with it. But in this game, TSM seems to have got the better of them. And it's going to be the base broken. And that's TSM now. A turret on the board.
They know how to deal with it. It was winning against Rock's early game. They did not do that here. Gabe just barely able to get out of that one. See, TSM, they're not slowing up here. They really just want to push for win.
Yeah, Kraken's about half HP. Gauntlet does come down. Iron Cannon is in the center of it as well. Joseph in a lot of trouble. Jump jets away for Best Chuck. There goes 1. There goes 2. Joseph falls and 1 more member left. Old School is going to take that passageway to get away, but Best Chuck's going to follow him. Triple kill for the Baron. 7, 1, and 10. Kraken is just going to knock down the last turret. Vayne Crystal left on the field. That isn't going to last long. AJ, we're going to game number 3.
We are, and I'm pretty excited to be doing it because we're seeing some great Vainglory here. Both of these teams, when they get an advantage, just do not let up. Cloud9, they were coming in hot, of course, after playing Rox Armada yesterday, but Team SOLOMID has had the opportunity to see what they can do and how they play against this Baron. I do think they made some adaptations as a result of that, and C9, when they weren't able to get off the ground quickly, were not able to make it work.
Well, I think we do need this game broken down. It wasn't such a whitewash as Cloud9 in that first game, but TSM this time, you know, a couple of mispositional mistakes there, like you said, AJ. But Suijay and Joe and everybody on the desk to give me their breakdown a little bit more. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, Jules. I am Munchwills. I'm going to be joined by Suijay and everybody. And did you not hear his outro?
You guys need to take back what you said about TSM earlier there.
we went pretty hard on TSM. Greg especially. Before the draft was even done, this was a guaranteed Cloud9 win. Where did this all go wrong? I mean, let's start from the draft.
I mean, I just don't understand why you put Old School on Adagio. It doesn't make any sense. No, I'm just kidding. But no, honestly, it was just a massive step up from especially Best Chuck on this Baron. Yeah. Absolutely incredible performance from this Baron, really showing why we've seen it banned so many times.
And the thing is, like, you think of Baron, you think of like late game team fighting, right? This was this Baron was fed before the 5-minute mark, Sweet.
Yeah, and I predicted the Black Feather, but again, Arden is not good if Lyra's up. Lyra actually counters Arden, and also Baptiste did a good job. There's one key fight that we'll see later. He canceled Arden's gauntlet, and then they won the fight because of that. That was insane. And also, Baptiste is buffed, right? When he has the empowerment that he gets, it's 100% plus ability damage. So he does 280 plus 280, and then whatever crystal he has. So he was hitting for like 900 plus damage with Broken Myth. And also got hit by 1 Mojo at 870 damage. I mean, it was insane. And that's why Baptiste is actually really good, guys.
And it's not like that was the only damage either. When you've got a Baron just like launching rockets at the team the entire time. And like there was one fight very early on in the game in the jungle where everybody stacked up from Cloud9 and Best Chuck was able to just obliterate everybody's health bar all at once.
When you see an opportunity like this, your eyes just light up, and you're like, you almost are worried that you're going to make a mistake because it's such a good opportunity.
And right here, the Fearsome Shade hits Gabe and cancels a gauntlet just at the last second. That was a beautiful gauntlet placement by Gabe, but he did not land it, and that turned the fight around because of Von C's Fearsome Shade there. And that was an amazing fight that they ended up getting the ace here, and the game just continued to snowball from here because it was only
3K gold lead-ish at that point. And from there, it just was in TSM's hands by then. So that was a crazy and clutch ultimate from Fonzie. And I was surprised he did not build reflex block a lot in early and mid game. He needed it when he got trapped in the gauntlet, and that's why Cloud9 was able to get a few kills.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of give Fonzie's feedback, get a reflex block. Flash is probably telling you, buy that reflex, man.
Yeah, so I believe we also have a fight from TSM over the Kraken that kind of really pushed, it went from push to shove at this point. So Gauntlet goes down, but the damage in this fight is insane, right?
Yeah, I mean, the gauntlet goes down, but it gets canceled very quickly as he runs out of it. But that, as soon as that ion cannon came down, just immediate deletion of 2 targets, along with all of that burst on the Baron.
And there's that 900 damage pad mode that we were talking about. It's just like, when you get to that point, when there's a Baron and a Batiste that fed, it's just like, how do you deal with the shit?
To me, that was just funny because Gabe's like, I'm going to save you, Joseph Vanguard. He just dies and just disappears from the ion cannon.
All right, we need to quickly move on now as we're going to be getting into the 3rd game in this series very shortly. And what a series it has been so far. I'm hoping this 3rd one is super close, but what are we anticipating coming into the draft here? Do we expect, like, for example, Baron to just be taken off the board once again?
Yeah, I would assume Baron is not going to be allowed through after that kind of performance. And again, you know, we were very harsh on TSM because that was just that was what we saw in game 1. They looked a little bit flat. That's why the season's not determined by one game. And so TSM definitely stepping up, showing they are still one of the top 2 teams. But now it comes down to this game 3. I am really looking forward to seeing what they do.
God bless best of 3 formats. Am I right, guys? Well, Batiste going to be taken away immediately by Cloud9.
And then Grumpjaw is going to be banned here, most likely from TSM, unless they have a draft that works into Grumpjaw, which is actually really, really risky because Grumpjaw is such a good jungler all around. So let's see what TSM is going to decide here. But Batiste makes a lot of sense because of how well TSM played it.
I also really like the Batiste ban because it guarantees that either Baron or Grumpjaw will be available if Cloud9 want one of those 2 picks.
All right, we'll see how they do choose to go. Using a lot of time right at the start of this draft. Very strong strategy here, making sure that they have a plan not only for this pick, not only for this ban, but for their first ban, their first pick, and their next bans as well.
And it is going to be that Kosh getting banned away. And I was just going to say, maybe they leave both of them up so that they can have their pick of one of those 2. But then Vox coming through. So Baron and Grumpjaw are available here for TSM. I would think they would want to go back to that Baron again because of how strong it was in Best Chuck's hands. Whereas the Grumpjaw I don't think is as much of a priority.
I think they're gonna pick, they're gonna pick Baron and potentially ban Grumpjaw, or if they want, they can actually pick Rhyme into it and just leave it open because a good Rhyme counters a Grumpjaw.
Or leave it open and take it themselves because they have the next pick.
That could work too. So we'll see how the draft's going. I think Glaive might be potentially banned here because Glaive is really good as Baron because of his mobility and the afterburn, especially pre-level 6 for Baron. So, they're going to actually ban the Grumpjaw. So Glaive will be open. So Cloud9, I think, should not ban Glaive and keep it open for them because Glaive is so mobile and can get onto Baron and put him out of position.
Would Glaive be a good pick to go alongside the Baron just to deny that extra way in?
Yeah, absolutely. It helps even that set up that early Baron farm that we've seen. I mean, this was something that we saw a couple of times last season. It was actually the Hammers roster that had this Baron that just actually won games ridiculously early when you're expecting it to be that late game hyperscaling. And Glaive was one of the core components of that. So Arden going to be banned. We could see this Baron Glaive combo.
Yeah, so Arden taken away from FlashX. And let's remember, FlashX is our player to watch in this series. So getting rid of his comfort pick, he's going to fall back on that Lyra.
Yeah, Lyra's going to be picked here. Blackfeather's open, so they may run CP Blackfeather with Baron, which is a comp that Armada ran. And Lyra, you have to take Lyra because Lyra actually counters Baron. She portals in and bulwarks. Baron cannot jump out if he doesn't pre-jump before the bulwark is activated. Catherine is a good pick because her shield can reflect all that damage, and she has the most reliable stun in the game.
Yeah, obviously you do have to charge on forward, so got to pray that you are tanky enough when you're going at that Baron. We saw plenty of players last game that would just simply went tanky though.
Really funny if the Catherine builds full health and can survive a couple of shots of Baron, when he jumps, if she puts the shield up immediately and is the one that gets targeted, I've seen it in games where it's happened that Baron has almost killed his teammates because of the reflection damage off of Catherine. It is absolutely absurd, the level of damage. So the outplays there is going to be huge.
We have our first Skye coming in.
I don't like this draft. Skye is not good into Lyra portal with bulwark. limits her mobility, and Baron can blow her up because she doesn't buy defense. She's a hyper carry that is known to not need a lot of defense, and Baron can instantly blow her up. And there's a lot of options open. Like they have Glaive open. They can pick a CP Blackfeather potentially here. Could work out. Taka, and yep, and it comes out. So this is very interesting. I think TSM has the better draft, unless Gabe can land some God silences to turn the fight around here.
And I think a key thing for TSM as well is these are all characters that fit this style of TSM quite well. Like when you think of Vonsi, you think of no fear, just fight, and that's exactly how you play Taka, right?
Taka was his original main, like way back, going all the way back to the first Autumn Championship. It was Vonsi was a Taka player. He played it every single game, so definitely a comfort pick.
We do need to wrap this up a little bit. How do we feel this draft has gone? Suijay, you seem to be leaning TSM's way.
I like TSM because once Baron's level 8, Cath can't touch him. He can just jump away and not get stunned.
I like the TSM draft as well.
Okay, apparently we do have a player in the bathroom, so we have a couple of minutes. Don't worry about it too much.
With you.
But so let's break down this draft just a little bit more. What is it about Cloud9's composition that is going to fall apart here? Why are we leaning so heavily towards TSM?
Like Suijay was saying, with the mobility reliance from Sky and even Vox to an extent, if Lyra gets a really good portal bulwark engage, those two are going to be stuck there. And being stuck in one spot with a Baron on the opposing team, we just saw what can happen.
Yeah.
So that's just a really strong combo.
And here's why it's good, because Baron builds Tension Bow, Sorrow Blade, right? Lots of burst plus burst from Taka, CP Taka. Sky's going to be deleted in like 2 seconds if they land their combo onto her. And on top of that, Lyra's going to go in and just block her from kind of run away or Suri away. That's why I think Cloud9 is going to have a hard time, because Sky is going to have to build defense because of burst from Baron and Taka.
And we know that needs to be building that offense. We'll have to wait and see. TSM versus Cloud9. Who is going to be king at the end of today? We'll find out in a couple of minutes' time. Get involved using the hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter and all of the other social media platforms. But we're going to pass it once again to Jaws and AJ.
Thank you very much, guys. Joseph on that Sky in the Jungle and Best Chuck over on that Baron once again. This draft has gone a little bit either way. I mean, Suijay not too happy, but, you know, Tasty over there. We haven't forgot you about you, Tasty, no worries. It's just, you know, liking it a bit as well. I want to see how this is going to turn out, because if Best Chuck gets rolling again, it's only going to go TSM's way, it seems.
This is a really important game for the rest of the season, too. Just thinking about this from the perspective of what we can expect moving forwards, we saw maybe the beginnings of a new world order yesterday when Rox Armada lost to Cloud9. Yes, it was only a best of 1, but certainly you can draw some conclusions from that. Now, if Team SOLOMID takes down Cloud9 here, you've got to ask yourself, who's really on top right now? Look at this early fight, though. Joseph.
Oh, Joseph's extremely low. Vonsi's going to chase him up, though. Those basic attacks will just finish him off if he's not careful. Joseph's actually just going to go down here. First blood goes over to Vonsi in a very, very risky invade by Cloud9. 2 members invaded, leaving Old School to clean up the backs.
At level 1, it is so hard to do anything as Sky into that Taka, especially once you can't trade because your Suri Strike's gone. But even if, sorry, your forward barrage is gone. But even if it's up, right? Like, let's say you start your forward barrage onto a Taka. If he's taken Kaiten, he's just going to jump over you, and now you can't do any damage except with your basic attacks. You've gone for Crystal Bits as your starting items. You're doing basically nothing. That trade is never going to work. So you've got to question why C9 actually went so deep into TSM's side. Like, they achieved, I think, what they wanted to begin with, which was just stopping Lyra from roaming behind and trying to steal a camp, or maybe roaming up behind Old School. I don't know why they decided to do more than that, but here we go, Best Chuck. See him taking a bit of damage. Doesn't pan out quite as well as TSM's fight earlier on, though.
Oh no. Old Reliable, though, on that stun, like Munch said, with Gabe Vizzle on the Catherine. As long as you can chase them, as long as you can catch up to them, which I seem to have a lot of problems with, by the way, when I do play my Catherine. But hey, not as good as Gabe Vizzle, that's for sure. And one thing I want to point out as well with this Catherine, that blast tremor is it's going to be massive in these team fights, because if Flash X can't get a bright bulwark down, and Gabe Vizzle uses it very proactively, it's going to end in disaster, you could say, for TSM.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Looking at the map now, though, and starting to talk about how things are going to develop here, with Sky going down early, that does remove a lot of pressure that C9 has access to. Especially because, you know, Vonsi on that Taka, his first clear is not that great, but now that he has a Stormguard banner, it's a very different story. So C9, I think they need to grab some vision early on here. I do like them trying to go for this Treant, though. They're going to pick that one up. Very nice early pickup for them.
It is. I mean, just making sure you secure these small advantages is always very important with the pressure that Joseph's going to be able to put out on this Sky, and gave it as well on the Catherine. I mean, the problem is for TSM right now, they've not had the best start. They have 3 kills in 3 minutes in game number 2. 1 kill, and it's on Von C at 3 minutes. So this Baron is going for the more conventional farm up, farm until you die basically, and just make sure you can get those power spikes fairly early, and hopefully you can kind of push Joseph at least a little bit out of this lane. Or even Old School, both of them just in the lane consistently at this moment in time, just making sure Bestchuck and A just cannot, and finds it very hard to farm under turret.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I do think that the Catherine Command of the Sky is quite a nice duo when it comes to fighting early in general. Maybe not at level 1, but past that point, a stun into a lot of forward barrage damage is a really effective way of chunking someone out. The problem is that Taka has invisibility and a dodge, and in the lane, Baron can just jump jets away, and FlashX can really do a great job, and you're seeing this. This is why FlashX is staying up in the lane. He can do a great job of keeping them off of Bestchuck. There's not many locations where C9 can go and find pressure right now. I think they're just waiting for more of a mid-game spike at this point. Maybe they go and invade some jungle, maybe they try and force fights around the gold miner. A real fight at level 6, when everyone across the board is level 6, probably goes the way of C9 with this comp, I would say. So if they can just farm efficiently and quickly up to that point, that's when C9 can start to make the real game-changing plays.
I mean, you've got to think about the double silence coming out from CLOUD9. Blast Tremor into the wait for it. Uh-oh, Bestchuck's been found. Old School just pushing him off once more. I mean, with this double potion start as well that you do get at the start of your matches, it can be very easy for someone like a Baron to sustain through a lot of the early game. So that's another little small change I was having a little think about. And with FlashX as well, like you said, he's going to be very safe in the lane. Just a lot of mobility and a lot of disengage from TSM is going to be fairly important for them. But CLOUD9, when do they really want to fight here, AJ? When do they actually want to go for this all-in engage? Because level 6 obviously screams to me, but a lot of hidden damage in Von C right now, who's just pinged the level 6.
Yeah, it's really level 6 for C9. That's when they have the opportunity to fight effectively. They're going to have access to 3 crowd control abilities at that point, right? Death from Above, the Blast Tremor, and the Wait for It all do a lot of work in these engagements. And if they can fight around something like a Gold Mine, where they can telegraph TSM's location a little bit, that is their opportunity. But here you go, Von C is looking for something already.
Well, X-Retsu onto Old School. Gaviz was going to be in the front line there as well, just stun him up. And Bestchuck and FlashX not really with all too much damage right now. They can't really follow up with anything meaningful. Old School's fairly low still, though. Jump jets forward, actually. Old School gets jumped on. X-Retsu in the back line. He's underneath the turret now. Wait for it. Is going to come through as well as the Death from Above. Going to lock him up, and Joseph's going to take the kill.
That Death from Above was absolutely fantastic. I'm not entirely sure it was even necessary, but it was still perfectly placed in a location that's kind of hard to do that in. But you can see there, Old School did have just enough defense to back out. He's got some shield already, which I think helped with the crystal that Von C's picked up. It's difficult if you're Team SOLOMID. Once you make that proactive engagement, if you don't find a kill quickly, you're probably going to lose someone or you're not going to, because the turnaround damage from Joseph is absolutely massive whilst you're trying to retreat. Bestchuck has not hit critical mass or even close to that right now. So if someone tries to capitalize on Von C, who's burned all of his escape abilities going for an engagement, Bestchuck can't be enough of a threat that alone stops C9 from chasing for...
Well, we'll see what they want to do at this level 6, if they want to chase up those kills like you were saying. FlashX does get stunned up, but Von C is going to be here. Jump jets forward once more. Old School taking a fair bit of damage, so is Gabe Vizzle. Has got that shield to protect him, though. Joseph's going to use that forward barrage off to the side just to protect that mustache brush from getting advanced on. TSM once more going in for this. Actually, yes, Retsu, wait for it. It's not going to matter because Von C picks up the kill instantly. Instantaneous damage coming out from Bestchuck. Just annihilated Old School. Goes back to base, and that's TSM with a massive passageway as well. Bright Ball's going to come down. That's going to be Joseph retreating, but Von C's going to follow him up with the kill. Gabe Vizzle now all alone underneath his turret. Old School only just spawning. TSM are going to surround him. He does get the stun onto FlashX there. Is he going to want to chase him out? They're just going to focus on the tier 1 turret right now. TSM with a massive turnaround.
That was a very, very nice fight at the beginning there from Team SOLOMID. What I really, really like is the fact that they used the fact that there's a long travel time for Baron's mortars, and they said we can time this so that the Von C Taka jump lands exactly when that mortar lands, right? So all that damage is up front. It's pretty hard to react to that, because if you're expecting to just get hit by a mortar, when you know that Bestchuck's probably maxing jump jets anyway, you just don't care. Like, you're not going to reflex block that damage. You're not going to, like, you know, pop a fountain or something like that. But when it's comboed with Von C jumping in, that's a lot, and you do need to respect that, but you don't have time to. You don't have time to make that reaction. So that was a really nice engagement from Team SOLOMID, playing around the specific synergy or combination of the Baron and the Taka very well.
Stacking up that damage, and it sure did hurt. Cloud9's first tier turret now on about half HP. That gold mine spawning as well. Well, not spawning, filling up in fact. Is at full capacity. 300 gold is available for each of the members from Cloud9 or TSM if they choose to push towards it at this current moment. Now it is Cloud9's game to kind of turn this around, right? Hey, Fizzle has had the level 6 mark. Joseph was there a little while ago, same with Old School, but Jump Jets 4 comes in. Passageway, Bright Bulwark, X-Red 2 on the back line of Cloud9. Death and Bruv is going to strike as well. They already found one kill though. Old School just bleeds out at the end. TSM is just going to push forward now. Old School doesn't really stand a chance in these fights.
They're syncing up their damage so nicely. Like, there's not much of a chance to do anything here. There's not much of a chance for like multiple fountain ticks to come in. Von C finds another one.
Oh my god. Stacking up the X-Retsu and the forward barrage coming out from Best Chuck. Well, the rockets even are absolutely disgusting. First tier turret is going to fall. TSM with the, I'd rather say, commanding lead at this point. 3,000 gold at 9 minutes, and this Baron pick is working wonders for them.
This is why Tension Bow is so good on Baron, man. He just jumps in. The first 2 attacks with the bonus from the jump jets basically half health someone at this point, even though it's still quite early. And Von C, he's gone Crystal. He has huge upfront damage to actually augment that burst coming out of TSM overall. And again, no easy way to react. This being said, TSM needs to never do that combo onto Gabe Bizzle. If you mistap and the shield comes up, that's a lot of damage getting reflected very quickly. But if it's on someone like Old School, you're going to land that damage before he even has a chance to use Wait for it. He won't even have a chance to silence you.
I would argue he doesn't have a chance to even Sonic Zoom. Literally nothing. He has no chance for anything at this point. TSM going in for another beautiful engage. Passageway, Bright Bulwark, wait for it on 3 people though. There's the X-Retsu. Blast Drum is going to come through as well. It's going to silence up 3 members of TSM. Von T's going to fall. Old School in the back line now. TSM has to go on the retreat. Flash X War just walking away is Best Jokane. Just leaves him for dead almost. Uses that sigil for the speed up. And now Cloud9. They find themselves a kill with that double silence that I talked about. Now it is their opportunity to come back into this game. Goldmine is going to get taken by them.
Gotta hold your horses a little bit here, Team SOLOMID. I mean, that type of engagement where you blink in is, oh man, Old School.
You mean that kind of engagement there, AJ?
This engagement's different. This is C9. They should not be going for a gold mine right now. Best Chuck's still too healthy. It's not. You're not going to get out of that situation. But when you go in with Flash, you have to do something during the bulwark, and you have to do something during that initial engage. If you don't, it gives a lot of time for Joseph and that to react, which is what they had there. And fighting in that choke point as well was a bit different when they fought in the lane, for example, earlier on, because it's so easy for Joseph to land a big death from above. And that meant the Von C really had to back away quickly, plus Best Chuck couldn't follow quickly. Like, he couldn't jump in because he was about to, like, jump into a Blast Tremor, or jump into a Catherine Stun, or jump into a Death from Above, or Silence. Like, he needs to jump in with the jump in from Flash, not staggered afterwards. Otherwise, there is time to react. You know, we were saying earlier on there wasn't. If he takes too long, there is.
Oh, Old School taking a little bit too long to scale up. I have to say, Flash X going in with another passageway, another Bright Bulwark. Von C is going to have to run away really, really quickly from that death from above. So I'm going to get stunned up like he did before. Old School already on the retreat. It was an instant 2v9 as soon as TSM went for the engagement. There's Jokane jump jetting forward once more. Gabe Fizzle. His back is interrupted. That was a bit of BM.
It was, but they did, you know, use the shield there, and Best Chuck wasn't able to do too much as a result. He wants to go in now, though.
Jump jets forward again. Wait for onto 3 people. This is the big silence we were talking about, but it's not going to matter because Sky already falls. Joseph has hit the deck. Best Jokane is going to get chased down. Old School finding the solo kill on it. Von C on the 1v2 situation. Flash X isn't there, man. You're going to go down. Old School finds the second kill, and Cloud9 just capitalizing on that missed position of TSM.
Gotta be happy with the one kill there, right? Like, you got a gold mine you can back up to, or, you know, maybe the jungle of your opponents. Team SOLOMID did not need to commit as hard as they did. They got punished for it. I like what they did to begin with. I mean, one thing you gotta realize that's happening here is that the bleed from Von C is way more relevant than it usually is because of how much upfront damage they have. Like, most of the time at this stage in the game, you see Best Chuck jump in, and yeah, he's gonna do a ton of damage, but it's not going to kill someone. Right? Because he just doesn't have that level of power spike yet. But when you got bleed damage out of Von C too, that'll probably finish someone up if you got a Shatter Glass, which he does at this point. So yeah, I like what TSM does at the beginning of these fights. What they're doing later on in the fights is where things come into question for me. They got to have good follow-up to good engagements for them to actually be good.
Yeah, that communication in that last fight just didn't really seem to be there from TSM. They just kind of left Best Chuck alone in the lane as they just rotated towards the jungle. Then Von C re-engaged when Best Chuck died. And it was just a consistent 2v1 situation after they picked up Joseph. So just reconvening might help them a little bit. FlashX looking for this portal passageway once more. And Von C's damage on Old School was almost going to take him out instantly. FlashX is going to chase him down. Same with TSM. TSM are just annihilating Cloud9. They find one piece at least. Joseph ends up falling. Gave Fizzle on the back line now. Blast Ram onto 3 people. Isn't going to matter though. That fountain is going to heal them up. The Crucible as well for the shields. Gave Fizzle in the front line. No shield, no problem, says TSM. He ends up going down, but at least trading 1-for-1 with Von C.
Man, that was so dicey. They were just waiting for that shield to run out because any attacks earlier on just would have killed Von C straight up. Here comes Old School then. Might be able to at least clear the wave, make it hard for Best Chuck to commit to the turret. He's got to be careful though. Oh man, if Best Chuck had actually jumped forwards there, double attack might have killed Old School.
It might have done. That tension bow prop would have done a whole heap of damage, but decided not to. You know, he's a smarter man than I and you, AJ. We have to give him that. We would have probably jumped jets forward. We probably would have both died.
I would have jumped jets to get to further backwards. Like, I would have wussed out. That's definitely my play.
You'd have wussed out. I'd have just got in. What's better than 1 kill? Probably not dying, but still trying to get a little bit of damage and calling worth anyway.
Exactly.
And then people will be question mark pinging me. At least on next patch, people can't question ping me. It's always the best thing about this new patch coming up, I'm telling you right now. Not the new hero, just the removal of that question mark ping.
Dude, I'm hyped for Grace. I gotta be real
no,
with you.
same, trust me. I've been looking forward to it for so long. I play so much captain right now, and I just want another captain. But I've seen a couple of players, actually, across the board in NA, actually playing her jungle. So I'm really interested to see if she actually is going to work out fairly well in the jungle role as well.
All right, well, for now, let's be interested in what's going on with Flash, because he's in a bit of a dicey spot.
No, he's not. He's got the passageway.
That's
See you later.
A big cooldown, though, like 50, almost 60 seconds, right? And that's how TSM is engaged every single fight up until this point Kraken's on the map. That's huge. Like, there's a large window of opportunity for C9 here. They probably, honestly, didn't even need to go back and clear that wave. Maybe they could have just snuck in and intercepted the second one so they didn't get counterpushed too hard naturally. But, yeah, I mean, C9, maybe not utilizing that opportunity as well as I would have liked them to be honest.
We'll see if they want to put more priority on it now, or if they just kind of want to hold back and stall out. It's like TSM are just happy and content to clear these waves up. Those rockets just handily dealing with those tiny little minions as they take blast after blast after blast. Minions, a lot of minions were harmed in the making of this game, fortunately, but
so
that's
many.
just how it is.
Did you actually see what the number was from London? We had that contest, guess the minion deaths. I didn't actually see it.
Oh, yeah, I totally guessed. Meaning scoundrel guessed, but
here we go.
were so sure we got it wrong. Hang on, there's the engagement, though. Chakane is going to flash forward once more. Oh, my goodness, that damage. Bonzi is going to have to run away, though. Death from above is going to come down. Not going to connect with anybody, but Chakane once more just diving into all 3 of them because he's got the damage and follow-up to make it. A passageway comes on back off cooldown. There we go. That's a double kill for Best Chuck. That's going to be an ace for TSM. That could very well be a Kraken and another turret as well.
That silence from Gabe Vizzle would have been so next level if they'd followed it up with Vision, right? If they had a flare to back that up. I don't think he used one. I still see 5 in his inventory. Oh, he just bought those 5. So yeah, he had 0 in his inventory to begin with. If he had a flare, you do that silence, burst down the Taka, burst down Vonsi, and then after he stealths, you can kill him. And at that point, you're 2 versus 3, you gotta leave. That's great, right? Without Vision to follow up the silence, you nearly kill Taka, and then he lives, and then Baron comes in and you all die, right? So at that point, the silence needed to actually be on Best Chuck and Flash, so they couldn't back up Fonzie. It was an interesting play. I see what Gabe was going for, and with the right items in his inventory, I think it would have worked. But ultimately, Team SOLOMID, they capitalized perfectly. Von C knows exactly what to do there, to just buy time for Best Chuck and Flash to come in and be in the fight and do the damage. Now they've got Kraken. Team SOLOMID, they're looking to make a statement here. They're like, all right, Cloud9, you can beat Rox Armada, the former world champions, but you can't beat us. We are going to be best in the West once again.
Best in the West or best in the world? That kind of makes up for it, right? Like unofficial world champions and all. If C9 beat Rox Armada, and now TSM beat C9, unofficial world champs, technically I mean, they've got
I think
that
that's
title.
a very unofficial. Like sometimes I'm
Extremely
like,
unofficial.
all right, this is the unofficial patch notes by Action Jackson. It's like, yeah, okay, that's like just a little bit unofficial, right? But that what you're saying here is very unofficial.
Extremely. So kind of, C9 now,
Oh.
carefully engaged, triple silence. Blast Trapper does hit. Joseph going forward. Doesn't want to go too far forward though, because Best Jug is just going to jump straight towards you. Those double rockets following them all the way to his turret. Almost falls down. Kraken still knocking on their base though. One turret falls. Next one is going to be very, very soon to follow. I can't pick up something here. That Kraken is being completely ignored. Vonzi's going to get completely ignored as well. Best Chuck and using the jump jet forward. Gay Fizzle stuns up one. He kills Flash X. That's no problem for him. But that Kraken still knocking on the doors. Vonzi is going to pick up one more kill. Best Chuck's going to fall. Now Vonzi in a 2v1 situation. Can he find ult? The bleed comes through. It does kill him in the end. And this could be Vonzi just ending the game right here, AJ. Gay Fizzle hasn't really got a say in. Or maybe he does, because that Blast Tremor does finish him off. Ace for Cloud9.
There's
Can
no Storm Guard,
the Kraken
though.
go down? I don't know about this one, because he hasn't got a Storm Crown. Is he just going to go back to buy it? Oh
He
no!
bought
he's-
one.
No,
he
wait,
bought
he
the
bought
right
a flare gun! No! What is he doing? He bought a flare gun! Gay Fizzle! Wrong buy, my friend, and that Kraken will finish you off and finish the best of 3. What a way to end the game. Cloud9 fall to TSM 2-1.
I've got to be honest. I think what Gabe did there, if he did it instantaneously and he didn't misbuy, was actually the right call, because that adds a ton of damage to Catherine's attacks to that Kraken. But man, Team SOLOMID making a big statement here. I think they feel really good after that win. I'm excited to hear what our analysts think, actually, because that game was very back and forth at times.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the main points of that game, apart from the funny ending phase, was the fact that once more TSM showed that they've been working really hard to kind of take that massive crown that Cloud9 claimed at the Unified Championships. But we'll throw it over to Munch and the boys to take that one, break that down even further. Munch, guys, take it away.
Cheers, Jaws. We are back on the analyst desk, and I gotta say, that game definitely felt like the story of Taka Von C right there. Going all the way back to the draft, it was the final pick of the entire draft, and 10 kills and 5 deaths and I think 3 assists or something, but every single fight he was just diving onto the backline and just slaughtering thousands.
I mean, Team SOLOMID, again, proving why they are one of the top teams in North
Absolutely.
America. Never doubted them for a second. Absolutely incredible. They just beat the team that just beat the world champions, so therefore, Team SOLOMID clearly the best team in the world.
And then it came down to draft. Game 2 and Game 3, TSM out-drafted Cloud9 for sure. Game 1, Cloud9 out-drafted TSM. But like I said, and I called it early, guys, Weatherman, Sujay here, Baron burst, tension boat with the Taka, Crystal Taka burst was just too much. I mean, you can see like it just deleted Old School, deleted Joseph. Like Sky was not a good pick into this competition with Taka being available like that.
Yeah, and I believe we have a few replays of exactly that combo as well.
Yeah.
The Baron and the Taka working together. Just, I mean, one of you guys run me through this because the damage is obscene.
Yeah, so double proc, double rockets from Baron with the mortal wound, and it does damage over time, so that killed Old School there. And then watch Sky here, watch the combo again. They're going to do it one more time here, and this is insane, the power spike they did in mid-game, and they just abuse this power spike really hard. And here, Baron's going to jump in, boom, boom, Von C jumps in, and then there goes Joseph, bye-bye. Just in 2 seconds, right? Like I said, 2 seconds, he just disappears. So you can see this draft was just so strong.
And one of the things there as well is Gabe actually can't do anything about that. Unless he's got a Crucible or a Fountain, there's really very little he can do to stop it.
Yeah, and at the very start of that fight, also, we saw the other combo we were talking about of Lyra portaling in and immediately putting down a bulwark to prevent any escape so that it guarantees that that combo hits to start the fight. And then when you have a 2-on-3 situation, it's that much easier to land that combo on its own. So it was really well played by TSM all the way throughout.
Yeah, and another thing, Gabe needed to get Echo. I don't think Aftershock made the most sense here. I think Echo would have made a much bigger sense because if he can double silence the team, they can win a fight.
This fight was a huge turning point in the game.
Yeah, it was. And the silence landed on Von C. However, they weren't able to lock him down and secure it. So again, I think Aftershock wasn't the best decision on Gabe's part. He probably could have got Shiver Steel because Shiver Steel completely counters assassin mobile heroes like Taka. Just one auto attack is going to slow him for a little over a second. And it's 60% slow. So if Taka can't get out, they can lock him down and kill him. And Von C, again, didn't build as much defense. He didn't need it on an assassin like Taka. He just needed a reflex block. And I think that Aftershock was probably the wrong build there.
So, very important question then. Obviously, this was the first stage in the single elimination bracket. Cloud9 are going to get 1 point this week. How do we feel like that affects them in terms of the overall standings? Are they going to be okay with that? Are they going to be able to just kind of catch up in the next couple of weeks?
They're not going to be happy about it, but they're going to be fine. I mean, this is still, again, going back to